Hi everybody, I'm Cassandra and welcome to my channel. Today, friends, is episode number 2 of the Hooking Up with Book series that I'm doing with my good friend Caroline, and where we invited you guys to join us. I mean, we all have very, very busy lives, but it is really sometimes just nice to sit down and just relax with a nice book. Now, I grew up in a house of readers from when I was very, very small. My granddad, he always gave us a book for Christmas and birthdays. Their entire house was floor to ceiling full of bookshelves. So I grew up with books around me. My parents are readers. My husband and my children, they are great readers. So I'm always surrounded by books. But often I will overlook a book if it's not sort of in the line that I prefer. Now, I prefer things like Agatha Christie, which is murder mysteries. I love Jane Austen. I love fantasy series. So our first book that we did for book club was Where the Crawdads Sing, which is a very serious, sort of an emotional, almost a real life drama. It's not based on real events, but I am certain somewhere in the world things like this actually happen. You know, sort of neglected children, living in a marsh, in a little shack. I think, we're not aware of actually what goes on in the world. And this is, like I said, a book that I would not have gravitated towards at all. If I'd seen this in a bookshop, I would not have bought it. But being part of the book club, I think that is the exciting part, that I do sort of get to read books that I would normally never even consider reading. Now, Where the Crawdads Sing, I really, really loved it. For something that is not in a line of book that I usually read, it was very emotional. I found it well written. Nature plays a big part in the book. Now, I won't explain the whole entire plot to you. Maybe you still plan to read the book. But what I loved about this book is that although it's very sad, now that is the one part I will tell you, it is very sad almost from beginning to end. But nature plays a very important part in this book. And I love the characters. You get so involved in the lives of the main characters. And in this book, this girl who's sort of on her own, and you follow her entire life. It was interesting, and I'm really glad that I had the opportunity to read it. I enjoyed it. I actually read through it very quickly. I did love it. Now, the second part of our book club is actually that we are going to read a book and then make some sort of a crochet project or an amigurumi based on a character, or being inspired by something that happened within the specific book we're reading. So we want to make something based on or inspired by what we have read. Now, as I mentioned, Where the Crawdads Sing, a lot of it revolves around nature and seagulls. It's set in a marsh right by the ocean. Feathers play a big part in this book. Birds, especially, as I mentioned, seagulls. So almost from the very start, I had the idea that I wanted to make a seagull for my project. And as it happened, I received this book, which I had pre-ordered a while back. So I received this book, and I knew immediately that I was going to make something from this book. And luckily, this book included this very adorable seagull. Now, let me just tell you, Animal Friends of Pica Pau is, out of all of the crochet books I've got, they are my absolute favorites. I've got all 3 now. I adore the patterns. There are so many techniques in this book that, you will learn so many new things. So if you ever want to invest in a book, the patterns are not terribly difficult. They start sort of from easy, basic patterns, and they gradually work up to more intricate, more advanced patterns and techniques. I absolutely love these books. So if you do ever want to invest in any of these books, I highly, highly recommend. These are some of the few books that I've actually made multiple projects from. So for this one, so far I've only done one, but I can tell you now, friends, this polar bear, he is in my future. But let me show you my Where the Crawdads Sing inspiration, which I've now told you was this little seagull. There we go. Can you see him? Absolutely adorable. Not difficult at all. Now he is, he's also, his skill level is indicated as an easy, which I would agree with. I didn't find it difficult at all. And this is him. So there we go. My little seagull. Now in the book, the main character, she always feeds the seagulls, and there was this one special seagull, which is not the same seagull throughout the book, but he's always sort of represented, or he's called the Big Red, but he's replaced by different seagulls throughout the years. But throughout her life, she always has a Big Red, which is like a main seagull, which forms part of her sort of story. So I knew I had to do a little seagull. So this guy with his little beanie. Now in the pattern, she does have a pom-pom on, but he just looked, just with his beanie, he looks like he works on like some or other fishing boat. You know, he looks like those images of fishermen that I've got in my head, you know, just wearing their beanies. So he was very, very easy to make. Now there's a lot of sewing, I will not lie, because the feet are actually two separate pieces. So you sew the bottom piece to this tubular leg piece that you sew onto the body. He's got his wings, he's got his tail, he's got his beak, and then of course this is not sewn on, but you make this little beanie. So there is a, well, I guess not a massive amount, but there's a fair amount of sewing in this pattern, but the actual pattern is not difficult. So as I mentioned, highly recommend this book, Animal Friends of Pica Pau, which happened to fit into Where the Crawdads Sing, my inspiration. But like I said, I knew from the start I wanted to make a seagull. And this is him. So I absolutely love how he turned out. Now, friends, just a reminder, our next book is starting from today, the 15th of October, ending the 15th of November. And what will we be reading again? In case you have forgotten, Britt-Marie Was Here. Now, I think this is sort of, again, a very, well, I wouldn't say serious, but from what I can gather, it's also sort of a drama, almost a real life, not based on real events, but, you know, a more drama than a light-hearted book. I think there is a bit more light-hearted sections in Fredrik Backman's books. So this would be interesting to read. I don't know Fredrik Backman that well. I've read one book of his so far, A Man Called Ove, which I absolutely adored. It was beautiful. The character descriptions in his books, or in that book that I read, is absolutely amazing. So I'm sure his character descriptions in Britt-Marie Was Here are going to be just as wonderful. And it will be interesting to see, friends, what project I get inspired to make reading this one. So there in the front, you can see a little soccer ball, a little rat. So that will be interesting to see how they fit into the story. And there we have Britt-Marie. All right, you guys. So that is it for our second episode of the book club, Hooking Up with Books. I know some of you have joined us this month. Please pop some comments down below. Tell me how you experienced reading this book. Was it what you expected? Was it not at all what you expected? Like I said, I had no clue what to expect from Where the Crawdads Sing. I really did enjoy it for a very serious sort of a book with very serious themes in it. I did enjoy it. So let's see what our next book holds. But please let me know if you've read it before, maybe a while back already. Maybe you plan to read it in the future. If you've read it with us, please let us know. I will link Caroline's channel down below as well so that you can see how she experienced the book and what she made. I'm really, really curious to see what inspirations she has made from reading Where the Crawdads Sing. All right, friends, that is it for today. I hope you have a lovely weekend. I will see you very, very soon in another video. Stay safe and stay crafty.